Hi everybody, Billy here from Gilbert Travels. Today we're going to do something slightly different. I'm here in Amsterdam and we're going to take the train down to Paris today with Thalys in their premium class. So this is only the second long haul train that I've ever been on and the first high-speed train that I've been on. So I'm excited to bring you along today. We're going to be in their premium class and show you what that's all about with the included meal. So come along with us down to Amsterdam Central, and we'll be on our way here shortly this morning. All right, so we made it here to Amsterdam Central Station. We're on track 15 at the far end. Here about 20 minutes early, but train announcement. We're here a little early, but they make it pretty easy. They show you which place to step to wait for your train, so pretty easy. Make sure you do arrive early for the train. Most passengers arrive by 15 minutes before departure. Have your tickets ready to show, and take the time to locate where you'll be boarding your carriage, as once the train comes to a stop, there's immediate mayhem to board with luggage at the primary embarkation door. After just 5 short minutes, the train will start rolling away with no delays for confused or late passengers. If you arrive at the station very early, a lounge is also available for premium passengers, but we are staying close to the station, so we arrived just in time to head over to the tracks. As for luggage, even in premium, the main luggage compartment filled up very quickly, so we were glad to only have carry-on size bags that could be stowed above our seats. Today, we're in carriage 11. The premium cars on Thalys are configured in a 2-1 seating arrangement, with the seats split at the center, facing either toward or away the direction of travel, and we happen to be automatically assigned seats 51 through 53 at the central table where the direction of the seat swaps. Seats are automatically assigned in advance when booking, and are not selectable or changeable by the passengers. Most seats contain a tray table, similar to an airline seat. Only one pair of rows in each car has this special facing table arrangement. This does provide a more open feeling space, however, it can be a bit awkward when you don't know the person sitting across from you for a several-hour trip, as was the case today. Pretty comfortable. My view's a little bit blocked here, but somebody that way. Trash bin. The seat also came equipped with a European-style power plug, which I used with my own power adapter to plug in my US charger. So if you don't have EU devices and want to be charged up, make sure your adapter will be at hand at your seat when you pack for the trip. In just a few moments, you're rolling towards the first of several tight-together stops in the early part of the journey, Schiphol Airport. Here you could also board the train if you did not get on at Amsterdam Central Station. This is also true for the other stops of the train at Rotterdam, Antwerp, and Brussels, from where it continues on directly to Paris. You can also get off the train at those stops before it heads to Paris, with the only exception being that you cannot take the train from just Amsterdam Central to the airport, as the local trains do serve. You could, however, buy a ticket for as short as just the first 39 minutes to Rotterdam, or from Rotterdam to Brussels, for instance. Today, we're taking the full trip, first station on, last station off, and this should take just under 3 hours and 30 minutes. Unfortunately, many artificial barriers were built to contain the sound of the train through its trip, so if you're expecting beautiful sweeping views of the countryside from end to end, you should definitely be aware that's not going to be the case. To be sure, the Dutch, Belgian, and French countrysides do occasionally make an appearance, and they are certainly stunning, but I wouldn't take this trip just for the views. Once in the countryside, the train does get up to speed for even the short bursts between the cities, reaching speeds up to 185 miles per hour. Between Amsterdam and Rotterdam, a packaged moist towel is distributed. Due to the segmented nature of this trip and the abilities of passengers to get on and off at the various stops, service is broken up into different levels, so that, for instance, a passenger commuting on the train for just a short trip is not served a full meal service intended for longer haul passengers. In fact, with the first drink service, the attendant asks each guest where they'll be disembarking, so meals can be readied appropriately. A premium class ticket comes with 2 meals for the full trip, the first and smaller of which for the southbound route is distributed between Rotterdam and Antwerp. For today's mid-morning departure, a choice of cake or sandwich was offered. Unfortunately for me, the sandwich had some kind of very strong-tasting preserved fish on it, which tainted even the bread beyond my ability to stomach, so I picked instead on the vegetable hummus-like side dish and sipped some coffee. I tried a bite of the cake that Grace had, and it was much better. The presentation itself was about what you'd expect on a short-haul airline business class flight, with metal utensils. Perhaps with a different dish, I would have had a much different opinion on how this service started today. After trays were collected, a further drink service was offered, and I asked for a local brew and was given this Belgian beer, appropriate as we had just now entered Belgium, at an hour into this 3.5-hour trip. During this stretch, the train really gets up to speed as well. Here we saw the train at its maximum speed, 186 miles per hour, 300 kilometers per hour, shown on the train's provided tracking system. As we approached Antwerp station, pre-packaged cookies were distributed. After a quick stop in Antwerp, we're onward to Brussels, the last station in the congested first half of this journey, a trip taken entirely at slow speeds. About now, my table mate took a break, and this allows me to give you a better look at the space available during this trip, which really afforded nice views out of the large windows. Let's take a better look through the seat. First, you'll find again the small wastebasket, which comes in handy for the wrappers for all the small service items you'll be provided during the ride. Over your shoulder is a coat hanger, right next to the large fixed but supportive contoured headrest. Nice cloth padded armrests are provided as well, unlike the hard plastic ones airlines have long since moved to. Below the outboard armrest is the power recline adjustment. This shared table folds in and out with 2 leaves so that it can have more or less space as your use dictates. A shared LED lamp sits by the window as well. Overall, if you were sitting as a group of people you knew, this would simply be a fabulous way to travel around this central table. As we crawl into Brussels, we passed a northbound Thalys train and were able to see the rest of the train ahead of us through a bend, as we were in the very last passenger car on today's trip. It was at this point in the trip that I decided to use the lavatory before the main meal service. Here I found water all over the floor, but no functioning running water, likely one being related to the other. I alerted the crew to the situation, who apologetically gave me several extra wet towelettes to wash my hands. At 2 hours into the trip, we've arrived now at Brussels, having used almost 2/3 of the time to cover just about half the distance. Clearly things will need to be speeding up from here in order to get us to Paris in the 3 hours and 20 minutes allotted for the trip. And indeed they do, as we blast out into the countryside for what finally feels like a sustained high-speed experience. As I've mentioned, 186 miles an hour, 300 kilometers per hour is the top speed for this train. This is the fastest I've ever been while still on land, and it's just amazing how quiet, smooth, and uneventful the sensation is from on board the train, while the world whizzes by at wild speeds in contrast to the peace within. Taxi cards were handed out for pre-arranged pickup at Paris. However, we were informed due to city strikes at the time this would not be possible, and we'd have to wait in the taxi line with the rest of the train instead. With premium class, you were provided a scant 1,000 megabytes of free Wi-Fi access. Since I had my own cellular plan, I mostly stayed off of it while passing the time, but even having to occasionally connect to access the train's speed tracker, I watched those megabytes roll by very quickly. Now that we're on the main leg of the journey, the primary meal of the trip is presented as well. The choices today were smoked fish or vegetarian. While I was not thrilled with either option, I was all fished out for the day. So vegetarian it was, and as it turned out, I thought it was quite good. No menus were provided, so I can't tell you for sure what I ate, but after seeing another dry-looking piece of smoked fish, I was glad to eat it up. At least there was a variety, and this time I felt like I got a good amount of food to eat for the trip. Again, this meal was about comparable in size to an airline business class meal for a similar length journey. While food is available for purchase in the standard cars, having this service provided is nice, and it's a big boost for the premium class for the price, which I suppose we should get around to talking about. For today's tickets, I paid €205 per person, which seems to be one of the lower fare levels for this trip. This certainly works out well in comparison to the cost of a short-haul business class flight in Europe, which can be quite spendy, while getting comparable travel perks for the journey. Flying on this route can take even just as long or longer than this trip when you factor in getting the airport early for security, waiting around for a baggage collect at the end, and that's to say nothing at arriving at one of Paris's far-flung airports. You need to take even more time and pay more to transit to your actual destination, instead of getting off directly at the center of the city itself. If you'll be taking a connecting flight instead of this direct train between any of its stops, the time difference is even more in favor of the train. Need another reason to take the train? Kids under 12 can get a ticket for just €15 along with the adult ticket, and that includes the premium cabin. Imagine buying an adult business class airfare and being able to get a seat for your child in business class for just pocket change. I hope you're laughing, because you know that's just not going to happen, but here that's exactly what's being offered. Consider this a good endorsement from someone who loves being in the air and doing flight reviews. This is a great way to get between several of Western Europe's most popular cities. Throughout the trip, we really had great service from our premium cabin crew, but now that their job is complete, we had just a few more minutes to soak in the countryside on this stubbornly overcast December day before arriving into Paris Nord Station. Here's a great example of the sort of earthen barrier you'll spend too much time going by instead of scenery on this train, one of the few true letdowns of the experience. Contrast this, however, to one of my favorite things of the trip, which was passing near the highways and watching the cars, which were moving at their own good pace, appearing to be standing still by comparison to us. We passed right by Paris's main airport, Charles de Gaulle, which itself is a good 30-minute taxi ride from the city center, where we instead will disembark directly into in just a few short minutes. Comfortable way to go on a few-hour ride there. Unfortunately, the views are a little limited, which I knew going in, but other than that, very comfortable. Food was okay, not airplane quality, but for a stop like that between cities, I'd do this again. Thanks for coming along with us. In closing, I do want to mention that we were very fortunate to plan this seemingly insane at the time, barely 72-hour trip to Europe, departing Christmas night, but it ended up having a great time, before even finding out this would be our last international trip for what it is now looking like at least a year, or more, and I'm so glad to have decided to go for it in retrospect, and make the most of the time that I had available to me then. Next week, join us as we return back from Paris to Florida in economy with Norwegian Airlines. Come back again soon for more flight reviews here at Gilbert Travels. In the meantime, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you can be made aware when more content is available. Thanks for watching.